Fighting games. Now, that's a hardcore genre that's hard to translate to a smartphone experience. Still, there are the few fighting games for smartphones that somehow manage to scratch the itch. Let's check them out. And we start with Final Fighter, a game that tries to walk the fine line between being a respectable fighting game and somehow working well on mobile phones. It achieves that by giving you a virtual joystick and only 2 buttons to work with. The rest is smooth animations and colorful characters. It's not as deep as a full-blown console game, but it does hit the basics. Footsies, projectiles, special moves, stamina management, and colorful characters that can in no way exist in the real world. Next up we have another great game, Punch Planet. This one is for iOS only, and not just that, it is part of Apple Arcade. But it's great. It is actually a game that's being developed for PC and currently in early access on the Steam store. The game feels really good to play on the iPhone. You're given large, easy to hit virtual buttons that give off a very reassuring vibration when tapped, and the game's speed and mechanics are just right in most cases. You don't feel like you need more fingers on the screen, as the game's combos hit that sweet spot between easy to learn and hard to master. Next comes Footsies. Footsies is one of the main components that makes a fighting game tick. It's basically the skill of being able to stay just outside of reach for your opponent, baiting them into making a mistake and capitalizing on it. So this here is a super stripped down fighting game that focuses on footsies alone. You've got the simple controls for forward, back and attack. Combining them in different ways will get you a couple more special hits, but don't expect much in terms of combos or creativity. This game is all about practicing your footsies either against an AI, which can honestly be infuriating at times, or against another player. Marching forward, we have Shadow Fight 3. Shadow Fight has been around for quite a while. The second game in the series kept its popularity for years before this iteration arrived. Of course, Shadow Fight 3 adds more options, weapons and moves to a formula that already worked, so it's the best one to get right now. This new game has super smooth animations and controls that have been fine-tuned to work flawlessly on touchscreen. It has a super long campaign to plow through, as well as online PvP if you prefer that player stomping experience. What's bad about it? It's a mix between a fighting game and a hero leveling game. The latter is done by finding and opening chests to get gear. You guessed it, you can spend money on gear in this game, which essentially makes the PvP a pay-to-win experience. The campaign will also slow down to a halt at some point if you don't cough up the dough. But hey, it's worth a spin, see if you want to support it. Another great game we have for you is Skullgirls. This game has been around for quite a while. It came out for arcades and consoles way back in 2012. It sets itself apart from other fighting games with its distinct art style and insane combo system, which allows you to make super long combos, yet keeping it fair somehow. The smartphone version is a tad toned down. You perform your hits and special moves by tapping or swiping with 1 or 2 fingers across the screen. Combos are there, but kind of limited to your number of taps. The creativity factor which made the original Skullgirls special is kind of gone. Yet for a mobile game, it has its charm and somehow manages to scratch that I want to see lots of things go boom itch. Unfortunately, it's a free game that falls in the freemium trappings and progression is basically tied to loot boxes. Next up is Prize Fighters, a boxing game which kind of reminds us of the good old Punch-Out back for the NES in 1990. But rest assured, Prize Fighters is its own thing. You can build your boxer by literally picking his fighting style as you progress through the levels. There is a solo career, but also PvP and even arcade events where you can race with other players to reach the high score. Controls are simple tap-based mechanics, but it's all about stamina management, proper blocking, and picking a fighting style that fits you. Next is a game called Fighting X Layer Alpha. Here's an interesting take. This game is played entirely with taps and swipes. And no, not in the Marvel Contest of Champions kind of way. This one tries to have some depth to it, with different special moves and the way you can connect them to your simple combo. It's definitely an interesting take, and it sure doesn't feel comfortable in the beginning, but the swipe controls are a thing that can be learned. Unfortunately, the game itself is pretty tiny. You only have 4 characters that you fight in this one training location. That's it. It looks like an unfinished product, which the developer meant to build over time, but the game hasn't been updated since April of 2019, so check it out, but don't put your hopes up. Next comes Street Fighter 4 Champion Edition. Street Fighter is a true classic and it was actually ported for mobile a while ago. Champion Edition even added controller support and multiplayer. Now, what you get here is a dumbed-down version of Street Fighter, but you do actually have 4 different attack buttons and need to input your special moves, so it's not a mindless tapper. That said, it does run at a limited frame rate for some reason, and input is flaky to say the least. But hey, that Street Fighter itch needs scratching. Then we have Boxing Star. A nice looking 3D boxing game. The camera sits behind your character in third-person vision and you have controls for dodging in every direction, blocking or of course punching the teeth out of your opponent. You have a lengthy career mode to climb through and also a league mode where you meet and fight other players. Last but definitely not least, we have a game called Chrono Blade. It plays like a side-scrolling beat 'em up when you're in single player. In this portion you can just learn and have fun with one of the 4 selectable characters. In PvP mode you put your skills to the test against all other players, and this rounds up our selection of the best fighting games for iOS and Android that you can play right now in 2020. Which of these games looks the most fun to you? And did we miss a great fighting game that should be included? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed watching, subscribe to see more videos like this one, and I will see you in the next one.